Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. This is the channel that helps you to pass the IELTS. I post content on IELTS listening, reading, writing, speaking, and anything that can help you get as high as 8 band in the IELTS. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to solve matching headings questions in the IELTS reading. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly hit the subscribe button with the notification bell so that you can be notified of wonderful videos like this. So let's get on with the video. Hello guys, and welcome to this course. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to solve matching headings questions in IELTS reading. So without wasting further time, let's just crack on with this. So for matching headings questions in IELTS reading, what happens is you're going to get a list of headings, and at the same time you're going to get a passage that's going to be broken into sections. So you will have section A, section B, section C, and so on, and then you have to give each section a heading from the list of headings. The headings will be listed in Roman numerals, so you have I, and these are going to be your answers. Now, the approach to solving matching headings questions in IELTS reading is an important question that must be answered. Using the right approach ensures that you choose correct answers, and then you also solve the questions in time. And the approach is very simple. What you do is you read a section first, and then you check through the list of headings and then choose the appropriate heading. Then you read the other section, or you read the next section, and then you check through the headings again and choose the appropriate heading. And this is what you do continuously. You read the section, you choose a heading. You read the next section, you choose a heading. That's how you solve matching headings questions. However, when you're reading the section or you're reading the paragraph, there are a couple of things that you should bear in mind. Number one, read to find out the topic sentence. The topic sentence is the main idea covered in that paragraph or in that section. Usually there's going to be a sentence that's going to encapsulate that. It's going to basically summarize what the entire paragraph is about. And sometimes in IELTS reading, the appropriate heading for a section might just be a paraphrase of the topic sentence. Two, besides reading the topic sentence, you also might want to, in fact, you should pay attention to the supporting sentences. Supporting sentences are additional sentences in a paragraph that are there to explain the main idea in the topic sentence. They are there to provide evidence, to provide support to the main idea. Sometimes the appropriate heading might just be a paraphrase of one of the supporting sentences. So in other words, when you're solving matching headings questions, when you're reading the section, you want to find out what's the main idea in this section. Then also you want to find out what are the sub-ideas or the extra information that have also been put here as a way to, of course, express this main idea. Your answer will always be a paraphrase of either the main idea or one of the subordinating ideas. So to make the best of this class, this is how we're going to go about this. We're going to read the passage first, and then we're going to choose from the list of headings provided. So right now you should already see the passage on the screen. You're going to pause this video so that you can read the section first. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explain the main ideas and the content in the section, and then we'll choose a heading from it. But for you to follow that, at every point in time, for every section that we're going to do, you have to pause the video and then read that paragraph yourself first. Read that section yourself first, so that by the time I'm explaining, when you play on and I'm explaining the contents of that paragraph, you can easily follow. So once you've read the section and you've understood it, then you can play on. And this is how we're going to do this. Okay, so we're going to start straight away. Now, that's the first section in the question. It has 2 paragraphs. So you can pause the video now and then read it very quickly. Once you're done, then you play on. Okay, so now I believe you've read the section. You see that the section starts with the fact that November, which has been used to represent autumn, is not the most inspiring of months for a photographer. So that's basically the main idea. And then the remaining sentences in that first paragraph, provides explanation. Okay, why is it not the most inspiring of months for a photographer. The days are shorter, nature seems dormant, birds have flown to warmer climate, fungi break through the earth. So all of these things make November not one of the most inspiring for a photographer. So the second part of this same section now begins with the fact that for all these reasons, for the fact that nature is dormant, the days are shorter, it might seem like a good time to just put your camera to bed. And, photography is something I want to do in this period. It might seem so. But then the writer disagrees and says not quite, and then it provides the fact that there's still quite a lot that can be photographed, from dusk to dawn. It says that the nocturnal hours provide a vast number of life forms that still thrive and they can be photographed. So that's the idea. So in general, the idea is November representing autumn might not be a good time for you to, take pictures because of so many reasons, but that's not entirely true. That's basically the idea in the first section. And if you check through the headings provided, of course, you see the heading that only fits that is the heading that says a season that may seem unsuitable for photographers. So the heading matches the idea in the section. That's the second section, section B. You can pause the video and read it. Also, you can try to see if you can choose the right heading for the section before I do. Section B focuses on the moon. It talks about the fact that the moon is the most conspicuous object in the night sky. But the striking information here is the fact where it says, you need a bit of luck to capture the moon at its brilliant best. What does that mean? What's the writer saying there? Of course, you need a bit of luck to capture the moon at its brightest. Also at a time when the night sky is cloudless, the night sky is clear. There are no clouds covering the moon. So you have the moon at its brightest, yet on a cloudless night sky. You must be really lucky, And that's what it says there before it continues to talk about the moon not having a light of itself and then only reflecting 10% of the light of the sun. So if you check through the heading, the appropriate heading here is heading I, which says how chance contributes to conditions being right. What is chance? That's the luck of having the moon at its brightest on a night that has been forecasted to be cloudless. That's chance there. Luck, playing its role to ensure that conditions are right for a very, very clear picture. So, it's a whole lot of paraphrasing and synonyms here, and that's how it works. So, section B, I. Now we move to section C. Once again, read the section first and try to see if you can choose the right heading before I do so. So you can pause the video now. Okay, so the focus in section C is on cameras today. Section C emphasizes the fact that there are cameras that can be used to capture really fine details, of constellations and the night sky. And the really important thing in section C for us is the fact that, this technology, this improved camera, is now affordable. Of course, in the second part of section C, it mentions the fact that, photographers might not really be bothered about having very, cutting edge cameras, because there are lenses that can be used to magnify the size of the moon. But what we are taking out of this is the fact that cameras and this improved technology are now affordable. Therefore, the appropriate heading to section C is a VII, which says no longer too expensive. So let's go to section D. Once again, I'll put the section up, and then you read and you pause the video, and then you play on when you're done. Okay, so if you've read section D, you see that section D talks about animals. The fact that there are animals that come out at night in the cover of darkness, and these are also objects of photography. But before then, you see, it talks about the fact that in a bid to build cities, in a bid to get urbanized, we have influenced animal behavior. He mentions the fact that so animals now are moving far away, trying to avoid human intrusion. It's right there in the second sentence in section D where it says, as cities and towns spread further into our green spaces, some wild animals move further afield to escape our intrusions, while others adapt to their new urbanized surroundings. That's the takeaway there. So, as some animals are moving further afield, some other animals are trying to adapt to the new urbanized surroundings. So, it's talking about how humans, trying to become more urbanized, growing cities, and how all of this is influencing animal behavior. Some of them adapting, some of them moving further afield. And for that reason, the heading we're going to be choosing is IV, where it says how human developments are affecting wildlife. So that's it. So now we're moving to section E. As always, pause the video, read first, and try to get the correct heading. Now, section E emphasizes the proliferation of urban wildlife. It talks about the fact that lots of wild animals are now living in urban communities. But our own focus here is the fact that there is now better and improved camera technology that has made photographing animals that live and operate at night. It has made it really, really accessible. In fact, section E talks about the fact that some photographers now really specialize in documenting nocturnal animals. So they only take pictures of animals, that operate at night. And indeed, there's been improved camera that has made this accessible, and that means it has made it easier. Therefore, the heading we're choosing for section E is III, which says the process of photographing animals at night is getting easier. I hope you got that. Now we're moving to section F. So you can pause the video and then play on afterward. Okay, so if you look at the latter part of section E, there's a part where it talks about using some complex techniques like astrophotography and wildlife camera trap. So section F starts with the fact that all that might be too complex for you, too time consuming. And if you find all that too complex and too time consuming, just do something more humble, more accessible, something that's not too demanding, and what's that? Just use the light of dusk. There's this light at dusk, when the sun is no longer in the sky, but there's still some light shed, and you can just, wait for the right moment and use that light at dusk to take what pictures you take. So that's what he says. He says that you can approach this in a more opportunistic manner. If you can't do all that complex and complicated techniques available, the techniques of astrophotography and so on. And so that's what we really find in paragraph F. That you can approach this in a more opportunistic manner. You can be less ambitious, basically. And so the correct heading for that is VIII, a less ambitious approach. You don't need to go all complex. Just use the light at dusk and take whatever picture you take, and that will be fine. Okay, so it's time for section G. As always, you can read the section first and then choose a heading for it. You can pause the video. Okay, fine. So I believe you have read section G. Now, section G talks about the fact that dusk can really be a good time to take certain kinds of pictures. For example, you can use the light of dusk as a backdrop for foreground subjects. That is, for images that will be seen primarily in the video, and then the ambient light is just going to be at the background. But then again, it talks about another kind of photography that you can have, which is capturing the outlines of objects. Outline just simply means the shape, the form. So you just capture the outline. So it gives examples of subjects like ships at sea, flocks of flying birds, trees, windmills, and so on. So the fact is, at daytime, these things are a little bit more detailed. You can see their colors and you can, see detailed features of them. But at night or at evening, once it's dusk, you might not really be able to capture these things in great details. You may not be able to capture all the fine details of a ship or all the fine details of a windmill. So at best, once it's dusk, you can basically just take photos of the shape, the outline of these images. That's what you can get. Yeah, so that's what we see in paragraph G. And the correct heading for that is heading V, which says photographing objects that can be seen in detail. And that's it. And that's how you solve matching headings. What's the takeaway lessons here? Number one, you must know how to read and interpret what you're reading. Don't forget to watch my video on how to read and interpret what you're reading, because that's going to be a useful skill here. Then watch out for paraphrases and synonyms. You see that the headings we've been choosing so far are just basic paraphrasings and synonyms of the things that have been written in the section. We have a particular paragraph talking about how affordable cameras are now. And in the heading, it says not too expensive. We have a heading that talks about having luck to be able to get the moon at its brightest point, coinciding with a clear sky. But in the heading, it calls that chance. So you should observe synonyms and paraphrases. Always, the heading is going to be a paraphrase of the content in the section. And then thirdly, practice, practice, practice. Continue to practice and you see yourself improve. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. Bye.